Hello and welcome to all my GMT time zoners. I did open the queue just a few minutes early here, so we'll give everyone a couple more minutes just to get a comfy spot, get their calendar invites, maybe grab a snack or a beverage, and we'll get going in about 2 minutes. So 7 a.m. my time and whatever time it is where you are, top of the hour, most likely. But yeah, this will give everyone else just a couple more minutes to settle in, allow my caffeine to kick in, and yeah. I'll talk to you in a few. All right, we are at the 1 minute warning, so one more minute and we will get this show on the road. All right, hello, howdy, and hi. A big hearty greeting all the way from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, where I am coming at you live, not bright, but early, in a very, yes, cold and dark Calgary, Alberta, Canada. But my name is Curtis Tohaniak, and I am a product expert with Replicon. And today I am going to be your guide and host on our featured webinar presentation about new ways to manage work from home employees. Also, today is my first Replicon webinar of the year, so I'm very excited to be with you guys today, and I'm hoping that we can all learn some new things and maybe pick up some new processes along the way. And yeah, it's great to be here with you today. So with that, let's take a look at our agenda for today's webinar. So first, we will take a look at some of the problems that organizations face when it comes to managing their work from home employees, and then we will look at how the Replicon time intelligence platform can solve these problems. Afterwards, we are going to hop into a quick demo so you can see everything in action. Then we'll take a look at a few customer transformations, and finally, we will end off with the Q&A. So just a couple of housekeeping notes. Throughout this presentation, you will be on mute, but don't worry. If you have any burning questions that pop into your brain at any point in time, feel free to submit them in the question box at the bottom of your screen. Yes, I am pointing at the bottom of your screen. And we will get to them all at the end during the Q&A session. So if you submit something during the webinar, don't feel like I'm ignoring you. I'm not. Just trying to keep the flow going, because those starts and stops can be a little jarring, especially when I'm trying to keep all my thoughts in order. So we'll just save everything to the very end. And maybe a little bit later, you're sitting down having a coffee or tea or sitting in front of the TV, and for some strange reason, Replicon pops into your brain. That is okay too. You can always send us an email. You can give us a call. Whatever route works best for you, you can get in touch with us. That being said, if my screen does turn black, maybe you can't hear my voice, or I get sucked into a black hole, feel free to raise your hand, then submit a question. Then I will know there is something up with the presentation, and I will work my hardest to make sure that everyone is able to enjoy it to its fullest. So at Replicon, not only do we believe that people's time is a strategic asset, but we believe that it is your most important asset. Time is finite, and you only have so much available to you, and once it is used up, you cannot get it back. So you need to ensure that you are managing it and treating it like that precious, precious resource that it is. And exactly how much time do you have at your disposal? Well, that depends on the size of your organization. So with 500 employees, you have 1.04 million hours available in a year. With 5,000 employees, that jumps up to 10.4 million hours annually. And then with 50,000 employees, that is 104 million hours available in one calendar year. And that is so much time. It's almost unfathomable how much time that is. it's definitely too much for any one employee or even one department to manage on their own. And what makes it so difficult to manage? Well, one reason is time is fragmented and tedious. So as you can see with Frankie, our poor Franken system here, he has so many moving parts and they don't always necessarily fit together so well. We have ERP, CRM, HCM, PSA, project management, payroll, and they are trying to send and receive information to each other. And this can lead to mistranslations, it can lead to data getting lost, and it can just make finding the information you need so difficult. And then on top of that, we have on-premises data and databases and on-premises hardware. And not necessarily everyone is working on premises right now. So this just means trying to get that information where you need it to go accurately is a hassle. And this can lead to so many challenges. So as you can see, big headaches across the board. We've listed just a few of them here and highlighted a couple that we're going to focus in on today, but this lack of time source of truth can really lead to billing delays, low utilization rates, invoicing errors, inability to plan to capacity, decreased profitability, and really decrease your future pipeline and growth. And we know as organizations, you have many different roles. Maybe you have finance leaders, operations leaders, delivery leaders, resource managers, billing leaders, HR leaders. And what doesn't change is that they all need clean and accurate time, and they need to be able to pull this easily and use it for whatever their role may be. So even though they are all using this time for different reasons, we need to make sure they are able to access it with ease. So for that, we have Replicon's time intelligence platform. It is the powerful platform for all of your time tracking needs. So you will hear me say this probably more than a couple of times today, but Replicon is so configurable. Every single aspect of our platform can be changed and configured to meet your organization's specific requirements. And this includes size. So whether you are that 10 employee startup or that 100,000 employee or even 1 million employee established organization, we can grow and evolve with you. And on top of being able to grow in size, we can grow in location. So we are global and secure. So we are on the cloud and we are able to configure to wherever you have employees in this big blue planet of ours. So we have multiple languages, currencies, time zones, holiday schedules, pay rules, the list goes on. So we can ensure that you have an instance that is set up for every single one of your users' needs. And on top of being global, we are mobile. So yes, that means you can access us in your mobile device in the palm of your hand. We have a app that is built in the Google Play and Apple Store, so you can find it on whatever mobile device you have. And it's just like logging into your desktop platform. You'll be able to access all of your timesheets, approvals, expenses, the list goes on. So everything that you needed to access on your desktop platform is available to you in the palm of your hand because we are mobile first. And we use artificial intelligence throughout our platform to ensure that this process is streamlined for everyone. So whether you are an end user or administrator, we have things like smart approval processes and our chatbot that will allow you to really make sure that every single thing that you do within Replicon is simple. And we are plug and play. So that means regardless of what programs you have in your ecosystem, Replicon will nicely find a home amongst all these different moving parts. We can send and receive data from basically any platform under the sun. And that just means you get your data where it needs to go and you don't have to worry about these annoying data silos. Replicon plays fair with your whole ecosystem. So Replicon is a comprehensive suite that is made up of multiple solutions. So we're going to be focusing more on our time and billing solution today, but you can use as many or as few as these that make sense for your organization. So whether you're doing time and billing, project time costing, project resource management, time and attendance, workforce management, global paid time off, one or all of these things, you can really dive down into our Replicon platform and understand which of these solutions will work best for you so you're not getting all these extra functions that you don't need. So here is a quick rundown of everything that we will be looking at in our live demo today. We're going to take a peek at agile and configurable time tracking, how Replicon can help you with accurate project costing, how it helps you to improve your billable hours, allows for more accurate costing, billing, and invoicing, and flexible, scalable global cloud platform. And with that, we're going to hop into our demo. So keep in mind today too that Replicon has a ton of moving parts and we are just focusing on a little narrow piece of it. So if there is anything else that piques your interest or you have any questions about, feel free to drop me a line at the end of the webinar and I'll get to all those questions and I might be able to highlight some things too if we have some extra time if you are curious. Oh, getting ahead of myself. So I'm just going to switch my screen over and we're going to hop into the platform. So at Replicon, we know that as an organization, you have So many different things to manage at any given time. You have hours, you have costs, you have expenses. And once you dive down even further, you have time off, you have work time, you have billable hours, non-billable hours, you have hours that are making you money, and you have hours that are costing you money. And we want to ensure that not only are we helping you to capture every single one of these points of data, but we are helping you to transform it and visualize it in a way that makes sense for your organization. So we have our dashboards to help you with that. So these dashboards are the living, breathing manifestation of every single point of data that you have entered, and they are updated in real time. So anytime you put one single point of data into our platform, it will be revealed here. So on a base level, we can understand exactly how much time we have spent working, all of our time off hours, our over allocated hours, as well as our estimated hours. But we can take that a step further and break it down into our overall productivity. And if we're working on a project, we want to understand exactly how much of that time is being used towards projects and how much of that time is not being used towards projects, because projects are where we make our money. So we obviously want to be putting more time into those areas. So on the surface, our productivity looks like we are actually doing quite well. We can see 89% of our time is project time and 11% of our time is non-project time, which is a pretty good ratio. But when we break that down even further, we can see that our utilization might not be quite as good as we thought it was. So as an organization, we should be shooting for about a 70% utilization rate. But once we break our project time down into billable and non-billable time, we can see that only 57% of our time is being used on those billables. So essentially that is 57% of our time that is making us money, which is not as efficient as we could be. And we can see the effects of that on our projects. So as an organization, we can actually drill down into our project analyzer and understand how every single project is doing. And we can see here that there are a few projects that might be starting to get away from us a little bit because they have a ton of this non-billable time being logged. And these projects are very likely not going to be profitable. So we have things like dashboarding, we have our evaluation of billing systems, and our evaluation of financial reporting tools that all have a ton of non-billable hours. So this is a really good and easy, accessible indicator to show us that maybe there are some projects that are in trouble and that we might need to take the reins and fix these things before they get too dire. And to be able to understand all this project information, well, we are going to need to have these projects within the Replicon platform itself. And there are a number of ways that we can get these into the platform. So if you have your own project planning program, like Microsoft Projects, for example, you can actually import all of that data and it will be visualized just like you see here. Now, if you don't have your own project planning program, that is okay too, because we can create all these projects within the platform itself. Now, if we go ahead and add a project right off the bat, we'll be given a ton of different options. So we can actually allocate the cost between different clients. If we are using multiple clients on a project, we can change our billing type, billing rate, time period, time and expense entry, total contract value, the list goes on. And this is just the tip of the iceberg, because after we've actually created these projects, we'll be given some more options that we can actually adjust. So we can drill down into things like cost type, time and expense entry, estimated hours, cost and expenses. So we are ensuring that these projects are exactly what you need them to be when you need them to be, because they're so configurable, just like everything else in the platform. And as I said before, you're going to be hearing me say that a lot today, but we just want to make sure these projects can be exactly what you need them to be. And to better understand how all this information is going to filter through our project system, it's good to understand how they are structured within the platform. So at the top of our project structure, we have our programs, and the programs are larger initiatives within an organization. And what it boils down to is they are essentially a group of projects. And this can be as many projects or as you see fit, or as you can see with our poor, lonely sales and business development and administration, as few projects as make sense. And there's a couple of other things there you'll see a lot throughout our platform. One of those is table settings. So we can actually drill down into these table settings and make whatever we need visible and hide what we don't need. So since we're kind of focusing more on billing today, we're going to keep that up. We're going to keep costing tucked away. And from here, I can actually sort all these tables so I can really drill down into the information that makes sense for my organization. And maybe I'm looking through these programs and I say, you know what? Business intelligence practice is our biggest program. I really wish I could know more. Well, you can. It's the Time Intelligence platform. We are intelligent. So if you see this lovely light blue font here, that usually means you can drill down and you'll be given a host of information on things like hours, cost, billing, and resources, as well as a list of every single project in this program. So depending on your permission settings, you might be able to see all of them, or you might only be able to see your projects. But since I'm admin, I can see everything. And that includes projects that are my projects, projects that are in progress, projects completed, and our archived projects. And it is so important for us that you have all of your data, because having all these old archive projects can really help you plan your future projects to even bigger, more efficient manner. So if you are able to access your previous projects, you can see maybe where you did really well in resourcing, or maybe where you went over top of your costs, or maybe where you didn't allocate correctly. And it really helps you to understand exactly where your strengths were and where your weaknesses may be, and helps you to plan your projects in the future to a more efficient manner. So we really think it's important that you be able to access everything. And if you archive a project, it's not going to appear in any of your stats, so you don't have to worry about that skewing the data, but you still have access to all of your previous information. And again, just like we saw previously, we will have table settings. With our projects, we actually have quite a few more table settings. And again, everything is sortable. And if there's something I want to find out more about, like our financial data reporting fixes, we can drill down even further. And again, we get a live feed of all of our hours, cost, and billing on a daily basis. So anytime there is data that is submitted into our platform, it will be visualized in these charts in real time. And again, these are so important for understanding how we're doing on a given project in a given day, week, month, or quarter. So off the bat, I can see my billing versus cost. And obviously, we want our billing to be higher than our cost. That would mean we're very likely incurring a profit. And here you can see things were looking good. Billing was quite, well, it wasn't consistent, but it was consistently higher than our costs. So things were going okay. But we can see on our little histograph on the bottom here, we eventually hit a lull. Not a lot of work was being done. And then when we got things kicked off again, well, our costs skyrocketed and our billing did not skyrocket with it. So this is a good way to keep tabs on how a specific project is doing and allow us to take action before things get too dire, right? If we're looking at this at a daily basis or a weekly basis, we can understand exactly the give and take and how every single action we are putting into our platform is affecting our organization. But we wanted these projects to be so much more than just a simple checkbox on a timesheet. So we've broken them down even further into tasks. And tasks are the nice, digestible, bite-sized chunks of our projects. And we could break these tasks down into subtasks and sub-subtasks, and you could go to infinite amounts of sub-subtasks if that made sense for your organization. And you can make it as simple or complex task trees as you see fit. And with all these tasks, we will also be able to include estimates. And these estimates are important for a couple of reasons. One is they allow you to understand exactly how close to completion a specific task and as a whole this project should be. So if we see with interviews, we have 46 out of 50 hours done, 92%. If that's the case, we can start moving our hours elsewhere. But with implementation, we are a little bit over our estimate, over 127 hours over. So maybe this is a good indicator that we really need to focus in on this task and close it out so we are not incurring too much overhead and stretching this project longer than it needs to be. And what these estimates also allow us to do is understand where our strengths and weaknesses lie and really develop our pipeline in an appropriate manner. So if we are consistently finishing our user training, for example, under our estimated hours, 125, 45, whatever the case may be, we can start building those estimates down in the future. And if we are consistently finishing within those estimates, then we can probably fit more projects into our pipeline because we're not estimating as much time and our projects are finishing quicker than we thought. On the flip side, if implementation is consistently taking longer, then we can start building up that estimate. We'll have a better idea of how long those projects will take, and therefore, again, plan our pipeline to a more accurate manner. So by understanding exactly how long every single project will take, we can start to grow and evolve and better accommodate our pipeline so we're not packing too much in, but also fitting the maximum amount of projects that we can fit into a given time frame so that we are making the most money. So I do see some questions popping up in my Q&A, so don't worry, I'm not ignoring you. We will get to them at the very end during our Q&A session. So now that we have our project planned out, we are going to need an ACE team of employees working on this project. And this may come as a shock, but this is done in the Team tab. So our Team tab highlights every single person who is assigned to this project, but it also gives us a good example of the permission-driven nature of Replicon. So take, for example, Tammy Benson. When we drill down into Tammy Benson's profile, we can see every single project that she has been allocated to. Now, these are the only projects that she will be able to see project information about. Even if they are in a different program with other projects, we will not be able to see any of that information again until we have given access to it. And then on top of that, we will only be able to see the project information that we are given access to. So it's kind of a lot of levels of permissions, but one of those examples would be billing rates. So our billing rates can be added or subtracted at any given time. We can also adjust them on the fly. So maybe we have to increase a billing rate, or maybe we're giving a discount. Whatever the case can be, we can actually adjust these on the fly, and then we can actually apply them to every single user. And these are the only billing rates they will be able to log on their timesheet. So again, this ensures that every single timesheet is clean and accurate, and it also saves your resources from having to search through 100 different billing rates or 100 different job codes. By assigning these permissions, we can ensure that everyone's job is quick, efficient, and easy, and reduce the chance of any mistakes happening. And not only can we decide what they can see in the projects, but when they can see them. So we can actually assign start and end dates to specific tasks. And this is really useful for working from home as well, because we know you can feel like you're on a little bit of a treadmill and it's difficult to see the whole picture sometimes. So by having these start and end dates, you can understand exactly when you should be starting, when you should be finishing, and how far along on a specific project or task you should be. And understanding who's on a project is only half the battle. We also need to understand how their hours are allocated. And again, another shock, this is done in our allocation tab. So our allocation tab will allow us to understand exactly how everyone in our organizations on this project will have their hours allocated. So there's a couple different color codes here. We have blue, which is for hours allocated to this project, gray, which is hours allocated to other projects, and green, and this less green, we'll call it, are hours that are allocated to time off or holidays. And finally, we'll also see our arch nemesis, the little red triangle. That means that we have time that is over allocated, and over allocated means increased costs, and increased costs means sad face. We don't want that. We want to avoid that. So this helps us to understand when we are starting to stretch our hours thin in a certain area. It also helps me understand that maybe why some lulls may be occurring, and that is because, well, we actually don't have anyone allocated any hours on this project this year. So I'm going to go ahead and kickstart things, and we are going to add a user. Now this could sometimes be a point of stress for some organizations because, well, you have 10, 100, 1,000 different users that you're trying to sort through, and you're trying to see who is going to fit each specific role the best. It can be stressful work. So we, again, wanted to take the stress out of everything, and we make it easy with our add resource page. So here, not only do you understand exactly how much time they have available, but we can also sort through specific skills. So although it is so much fun waking up early with all you GMT folks, it might be nice to have someone in North America so sleep schedules line up a little bit more. And in this instance, we need someone with a very specific set of skills. I don't think we have Liam Neeson available, but we do need a Sage Architect, and lo and behold, we do have a person that is fitting both of our criteria. It is Alex Chu. Just to make sure, we better check January 2021. Looks like he is very free. So Alex, you are on the team. And maybe in this instance, we returned more than one match. Maybe there's 3 or 4. We can actually assign skill ratings to each one of these resources. And so whether we are looking for a Sage beginner, where we don't need such strenuous work done, or maybe we need our Sage, and that would be Alex. He has a 3-star rating. Then we know that Alex is going to be the best person for this role, and we can go ahead and assign him. And once we have assigned Alex to this project, allocating his hours is just as simple. So whether we're breaking it down by day, week, or month, we can assign his hours by specific hours per day, total hours per time period. And very useful is a percentage of available hours, because, well, we all know the downfall of having over-allocated hours. We're stretching our resources thin, we're increasing our costs, but there's also the problem with not allocating enough hours. Again, everyone's working from home. We want them to be on that we don't want them to be on that treadmill. We want them to be moving forward. So by giving them 100% of these allocated hours, not only do they understand exactly what they need to be working on, but we're going to be finishing projects quicker and, again, fitting more into our pipeline. So we don't want to under-allocate. We don't want to over-allocate. We just want to allocate to our maximum utilization. And Replicon allows us to do that with ease. And once we add this allocation, Alex is going to have a cost associated with him, and this cost can be normalized based on the project, but this will be reflected in all those charts that we saw previously. So whether it is our dashboards or our live feed pages on every single project, this will manifest itself immediately. And if we really want to understand this resourcing across our organization, we can break this down in our resource tab. So previously, we saw our resourcing based on every single project, but this helps us understand not only every single project, but every single user. So maybe we wanted to understand why a specific project had a bad week. We can see that in financial data reporting fixes. There were a couple weeks where we were over allocated. Or similarly, we can also see that maybe there's a specific skill that is in high demand and we want to understand exactly how many hours we have free. If we break down our CRM architecture, we can actually understand exactly how their hours are distributed. And in cases like this, where we have hours that were over allocated and no hours unallocated, we can better understand how we can distribute these across our organization. And even further, we can break this down by a project to project level so we really get a comprehensive view on how every single hour is being spent. But there will also be instances when we maybe don't know exactly who we're going to need on a project. Maybe we're just in the planning phases. We need to understand still how much this project is going to cost and what should we expect to put on for resources. So for that, we have our placeholder resources. So we can actually create these resources with costs associated with them. They can have skills. And we can start allocating them hours on these projects. And once we start allocating these hours, we'll be able to see how our cost is affected. And then we can understand maybe if we need to do some training, hiring, or if we have the proper resource pool. And once we start allocating these actual resources, we don't have to worry about any of our data being skewed because, well, we've already done the hard work with all this planning. And you just simply replace these placeholder resources and you are on your way. So far, we have looked at planning out these projects and staffing them. And now is the fun part. We call ourselves a time intelligence company for a reason. We do really enjoy our time and, well, we do it so well. And within Replicon, there exists so many different permutations of timesheets that you could feasibly create a different timesheet for every single user in your organization. And today we actually are going to explore one of our new timesheet features. So this is brand new and it is called Agile Timesheets. So this project is a little bit more of, or this timesheet is a little bit more of a project-oriented timesheet. So we're actually logging our time towards specific tasks, projects, billing rates, and activities, as well as client. And if you're an organization with 100 different job codes, we want to make sure it is easy to track down exactly what you need to find. So we have a search feature. So if you know what project you're looking for, you can search it. And maybe you don't know exactly what project you're looking for, but you know you're looking for Calgary projects, for example. We also have this filter feature, which is brand new. And this just allows you to narrow down the list of projects or clients that you have within your organization. But here I know exactly which project I've been working on today. It's big game. We're working on our financial data reporting fixes, and implementation is our task. And from here, I can go ahead and select my activity. And maybe this is the only project I'm working on during the week, and I don't want to have to repopulate this timesheet every time. I can actually duplicate this role and then just go ahead and change whatever task I've been working on. We can also overwrite these timesheets with previous timesheet periods, or we can allocate timesheet hours based on scheduled hours. So there are so many options for making this timesheet entry quick and efficient. And once I've gone ahead and selected all my activities, we'll see a couple different things manifest itself. One is this progress bar. So just like we said before, we want to make sure our resources are moving forward. And by having a look at the big picture, they can understand again how close to completion these certain tasks should be. And we also have these target billable hours. So again, we're setting goals. We can see here that I have not quite at where I should be for this month. So maybe I realize this a little bit earlier. I can have a discussion with my manager. It's not going to be that surprise at the end of the month. Yeah, I didn't reach my goal, and then everyone's sad and disappointed in each other, and it's an awkward silence. We just want to make sure that everything within our platform is proactive so you can take action when necessary. And now that we have an understanding of how everything is populated, I can go ahead and start entering my time. And what is brand new with our Agile timesheets is that not only can you submit these timesheets at the end of the week, but you can also submit them on a daily basis. So here we can see every entry I make, I can actually submit one at a time. And this is important because maybe you are working on a project where you need to be submitting every single task and you're billing on the daily. This can be sent away to my project manager right away, and they can use this information. They can export it to whatever program and make sure it gets where it needs to go so we can get that billing process underway. But maybe my payroll managers also need all this information at the end of the week. So not only can I submit these information as it happens, so each individual time entry, but I can also submit my timesheet as a whole at the end of the week, and we can actually choose the routing paths for each of these submissions. So my time entries could go to project managers, and my timesheet as a whole could go to admin, or whatever the case may be. So we have different options, and we ensure that these timesheets are so agile. And if you don't need these time entries, you can actually turn this off entirely, and you're just doing your entries per day. And all of these time entries are going to have what's called validation rules in effect. So we'll see a couple of these in action. So say I'm ready to go ahead and submit my timesheet. If I forget to accept and submit my attestation, then I'm going to return one of these errors. And this is a validation rule, and these validation rules will have different results, and they cover things like mandatory break enforcement, minimum hours entered, maximum hours entered, hours during a rolling period, the list goes on. But all these validation rules are in place to ensure that this time entry is accurate and clean. We don't want people submitting time data that is inaccurate, because that's going to lead to inaccuracies across the whole organization. So there's a couple of different ways that we can enforce these validation rules. One you saw there is just a reminder that we need to accept one of these validations. Another one that we'll see here is an actual error. So this will actually prevent me from submitting my timesheet. So if I try to submit my timesheet when I have one of these errors popping up, it will be rejected. And this is just to save everyone in the long run time, because we know how painful it is going back with employees and saying, does this need to be fixed? Yes. Change to this? Yes. And just takes so much time, so much back and forth, and again, has room for more errors. So we nip these problems in the bud. So in this instance, we can actually see that our implementation has exceeded our estimates, which is less than ideal. And maybe before I would just continue submitting these timesheets and the hours would rack up, and soon we would be into a big time deficit on how much we have spent on this project. But now, if I try to submit a project entry that is over our estimate, then I'm going to have a discussion with my project manager, tell them I can't submit my timesheet because we're over our estimates on this task. And then my manager, maybe who didn't understand or notice that this task was over our estimates, can now start to take action and ensure that everything is finished off in a timely manner. So we are really ensuring that, again, everything is entered clean, accurate, and really in a way that makes sense for your organization, because all these validations are configurable, so we can have as many or as few as we want active on any given timesheet. And there are so many different configurations of timesheets that we can have within Replicon. So we're going to actually look at a couple examples here. One is with Chris, and Chris has a little bit more of a basic timesheet. Chris's timesheet, simply logging the hours per day. But what we can see here is that Chris has exceeded his regular 40 hours per the week. But unlike that last timesheet, we actually allowed him to submit this timesheet because maybe it is expected that sometimes Chris will be working these extra hours. So here I can review his timesheet, and if I need to change anything, I can reopen it. But again, we want to put the onus on the end user. So I can actually send this back to Chris, and we can actually have a reopening period. So whether this be forever or just before a pay run has been submitted, whatever the case may be, we can set a time frame on when Chris is able to reopen this, change it, and all changes will be logged on the bottom here, so we know exactly what has happened on every single timesheet, and we have full transparency into anything that is happening. Another example of a timesheet we have here is with Kurt Jones. And Kurt Jones has a little bit more of a custom timesheet. So Kurt is going to be logging every single activity that he's done during the day, as well as the time frame at which he worked on it, as well as activity, project, task. And we also have a few custom fields here. And one of these is comments. Again, something so valuable when people are working from home, because we might not have as much contact with every single employee, and we still want to understand where they're doing well, maybe where they're struggling. So by having this comments field, we can actually understand exactly what is happening on every given day with this employee. And we can also mandate that these comments are necessary. So in this instance, we could say Kurt maybe forgot to submit them, or maybe he didn't want to. So we're going to give him a gentle reminder, tell him how important these are for organization. And next week, when he goes to submit these comments, it's actually going to be rejected if he forgets to submit the comments. So we can really adjust these timesheets to each and every single employee, as well as each and every single one of their use cases, or maybe just every single week. Maybe we need to adjust a specific thing here or there, depending on where they're working. And this includes our custom tabs. So this could say mileage, it could say units completed, it could be photo proof of the done work during the day, work done during the day. And what this does is it really shows that not only can we have that every single user has their own timesheet, but we can create a timesheet for every single one of their use cases, whether they are working from the office, working from home, working on the road with clients, hopefully very soon. We can ensure that they have a different timesheet for every single one of these activities. And with people working hopefully very soon, maybe from the road or working with clients, we are going to need to access Replicon wherever we are. So for that, we have our mobile app. And I'm just going to switch my screen over quickly so we can see our mobile app in action. So our mobile app was built from the ground up to ensure ease of use for everyone, and that includes Chatbot. So Chatbot is going to greet us when we log into our app, and Chatbot can answer questions, Chatbot can streamline processes, but unfortunately, Chatbot, you're looking very cute, but we don't have so much time for you today. What we can also do in our Polaris is access our timesheet. So if I want, I can actually clock in and out. So we do support time punches as well. So we saw some more kind of traditional timesheets with just logging your hours, but we can also support punching in, punching out. We can also support punching in and out to a timesheet. And similarly, we can access all the timesheets that we have access to on our desktop platform. So I can actually add time entries towards a specific project, task, everything that we saw available on our desktop platform is available mobily. And when we go to submit these time entries, maybe we have multiple, maybe we have one. Again, we can select exactly what time entries we want to submit, or if we want to submit the whole timesheet. And if I am an approver, I will also need to access all this information so I can get my approvals done in a succinct manner. And anytime I have something waiting in this inbox for me, I will either receive a push notification or an email telling me that there is an action that needs to be taken within the platform. And here I can dive down into all my timesheets that are waiting approval. I can batch approve or reject. But in this instance, if I want to do a little bit more investigating, I can see exactly what was going on with Tammy Benson for a specific time period. So we can see it was like 8 hours per day, 40 hours per week, business as usual. We can see a payroll summary. And she doesn't have any of these validation warnings triggered. So in this instance, we should just go ahead and approve this timesheet. But maybe we don't want to be approving these business as usual timesheets because we have hundreds of them in our organization. It just takes so much time. So we support smart approval processes within Replicon. So whether you want these timesheets to be approved automatically, because we have those permissions and validation rules, ensuring that every timesheet is accurate. And if none of these are triggered, it can be submitted right away. Or we could set up an approval process where it goes to a manager, then a supervisor, then an administrator, or we could set up 12-step approval, 2-step approval. Whatever makes sense for our organization, we can create it within Replicon because, again, everything is so configurable. So after we have entered all this time information, we are going to need to get it to the platform that we need it to go to. And one example of that would be for billing. So we support a ton of different formats of our billing. So here we can actually see that we actually have access to all of our timesheets that have ever been created in our platform. And this is important. Maybe just we need to go back in time and understand a specific timesheet. We need to see what's been approved, or we need to work through all this stuff. We can actually see what timesheets have been submitted, not submitted, rejected, waiting for approval. That will be all accessible in our billing tab. But here we also have a summary of every single billable hour within our organization. And again, very important just for understanding what our pipeline is looking at. And we can actually invoice directly from the platform itself. So all these invoices are configurable. We can actually change color schemes, line items, layouts, logos to ensure that every single client has their own invoice. And if things are changing on the fly, like maybe one of our projects ran a little long or one of our line items ran a little bit longer than we expected, we can add discounts, we can change these line items. So everything is visible and transparent to everyone involved. And once we are ready, we can actually issue this invoice and email it directly from the platform and update its status as we go. But maybe we have our own billing program and we want to get all this information to that program. Again, we can export everything. So within Replicon, we have so many different built-in plugins that we can basically get this information to any piece of your platform, whether it be through a direct connector or Excel spreadsheets. We can make sure that this information gets where it needs to go. And this includes things like cost. We have payroll exports. So you can really ensure that your information can be broken down in a way that makes sense for your organization. And now after we have all this information entered and it's going where it needs to go, we will need to see how it affects our organization and understand what it is doing for us as a business. So there is a ton of ways that we break down this information within our platform. And one is our dashboards. So these dashboards are the living, breathing culmination of your data. And these are perfect for exporting into slideshows, presentations for leadership, or just helping you to understand what is going on in a specific portion of your organization. So for example, maybe I see one of these dashboards on hours by project, and I want to drill down even further and understand where these hours are being used and by which user. I can drill down into my financial data reporting fixes and see exactly what user is spending their time on this specific project. We also break our information down by reports, and I'm sure you have all seen a report or 3 or 50,000 in your history, and that is because, well, they are so important and they are really inescapable because they give you all that hardline information behind your organization. And these reports can be run daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, and they can be sent to anyone with an email address. And this by no means is the exhaustive list. All these, again, are configurable, so you can create them from the ground up or edit the ones that we already have slightly. But we just want you to ensure that, again, you can display your data in a way that is effective for your organization. So one example would be here. We have our project profitability analysis. And we can actually break these projects down by total contract value, estimated cost, billing, actual cost and billing, smush all this together, and we will get an expected profitability and an actual profitability. And if the two aren't quite lining up in a positive manner, we will get one of these not so friendly alerts telling us that there are some things that might need to be fixed on this project if we want to be profitable. And finally, as we said before, we understand that Replicon might not be the only piece of your ecosystem, but we want to ensure that you can get this data displayed in harmony with everything that you have going on. So for that, we can connect to BI tools. So we can connect to BI tools like Tableau, Google BigQuery, and Power BI. And if you have a BI expert at your organization, you can basically display this information in infinite amounts of ways. And if you don't have a BI expert, that is okay too, because we have these pre-configured workbooks that you can download. And all you have to do to get your information populated like you see here is log in through a connector, which is basically logging into your instance. And voila, you will get what you see right here. So it really just makes analyzing your information so easy. So not only are we helping you collect every single point of data, but we are helping transform it. So that will bring us to the end of our demo today. Again, it was kind of a cross section, so we focused in more on the billing aspect, but if there is anything else that you had questions about, feel free to get in touch. So we're just going to quickly take a look at a review of everything we saw today. Then we're going to hop into a few customer transformations and finally end off with a Q&A. And I can already see there's some questions popping up. Feel free to keep submitting more if you have any that are popping into your brain in this last little session here. But as you saw today, Replicon has so many benefits. We are helping you decrease revenue leakages, increase resource utilization, decrease administrative overhead. The list goes on. There are so many advantages to having one source of truth for your time. And we can see this in action with a couple of our customer examples. So one example is our 300 employee consulting firm. Now they used, I know, GASP manual spreadsheets, and this obviously wasn't flexible. And this made it difficult to track and manage their cash flows, made billing an utter nightmare, and this delayed their affected profitability. Now, after implementing Replicon, they had a user-friendly interface that facilitated accurate and consistent data collection. This improved the resource management, allowed for better staffing, and created faster and more accurate billing, and just made everything a lot easier across the board. And we can actually really see this in action with our 6,500 employee IT services firm. So they had field-based workers, which meant not everyone was consistently logging their information in the same way, and they was creating data silos, and it just made trying to understand all this information so difficult because they didn't have that single source of truth for their time. And this ultimately led to cash flow problems and inaccurate data, and this all snowballed and just created even more problems. So after implementing Replicon, they had granular detail and a holistic view of everything that was going on with their organization. They had real-time actionable data that they could actually be confident in, and they knew it was consistent. And this allowed them to increase profitability and utilization and created a cultural change where not everyone was questioning the information that they were using as an organization. So as we saw in action today, Replicon is made up of a lot of moving parts, and whether it be for time and billing, project time and costing, project resource management, or our time and attendance side, we are the comprehensive suite made up of solutions to fit all of your needs. And if you saw anything that really piqued your interest or you had any questions for me, get in touch with us. We can actually set you up with a customized demo because we know every organization operates a little differently and you're going to want to see how Replicon is going to work for you specifically. So get in touch with us. We can actually get your use case. And if you want, you can actually get your data imported into the platform itself, and then you can see exactly how it is going to work for you. So if that interests you, give us a call. My email is curtis.dohaniuk@replicon.com. A little bit of a tongue twister, so you might want to copy that down. And you can also give us a call at this phone number here, and you can tweet us. We are on every platform imaginable, so there are so many ways for you to get in touch with us. So I want to thank you all so much for joining me. I do appreciate all of your time. It's always nice to start the new year out with some new faces. So yeah, thanks for joining me today, and I hope you're all staying happy, staying safe, staying healthy, and we hope to hear from you soon. Take care and enjoy the rest of your day.